Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Pixelated Perfect podcast. Today is a special episode. We have Julieta with us. She is the newest member of the design team, so I've gotten to spend a lot of time with her. And I'm really excited for us to kind of kick off and dive deeper into learning more about her. So a little overview is she's been with the design project about a month. She is a senior designer. She comes from Lemon Cash, which is a crypto wallet, and she also worked at Bitso. Bitso? Yes,
That's
perfect.
nice.
Awesome. So Juli, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm so thrilled being here and nervous as well.
No.
But thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Of course, don't be nervous. It's going to be great. So I know a little bit of your story from our interviews and just talking, so I can help kind of guide it in that way, but I'm really excited because I'm excited for you to kind of tell a little bit more about your story. So let's start with the prompt of when did design come into your life?
I think that always has been by my side, but at the time that I can say, okay, this is the first time that I remember, it's when I was like 13, 14 years old, more or less. I was doing an assignment for school, which was to write an article for a newspaper, and I just didn't write an article. I like designed the whole thing, the title, the epigraph, the art. I chose the typography. I didn't know about that moment that it was called typography. For me, was like letters.
Yes.
So I delivered that, and for a long time I thought that I wanted to be a journalist. But then when I had to choose a career, I chose graphic design because they had editorial design. And at that moment, I realized that I designed the article because I wanted to design, maybe not to write. So I think that was the first time ever I realized I wanted to be a designer.
Yes.
I wanted to be a journalist. Yes.
That's funny. Yeah, it's interesting in hindsight, like recognizing there was like a little bit of that design that came out.
So many years after that, because this happened when I was 13, and until the 18th, I never thought about it. I always I want to be a journalist because I want to write. And no, actually I wanted to design the whole page. I wanted to rethink about those publications. So yeah, it took me several years.
Oh my gosh, that's fascinating. So when you all throughout high school, you were like, I am going to be a journalist. That's where I see myself going.
Yes, I want to write, because I also thought that journalists were designing also the publications. So I thought that was part of the whole thing. And I love writing. I still do that. But when I had to figure out where I'm going to be as a career, I read that you have like different types of designs, and one of the subjects were editorial design. When you say that you are going to be a graphic designer, everyone tells you like, yeah, you're going to do logos, branding. Yeah. And it's like, no, there must be so much more than that, because I can't be studying 4 years for just doing logos. I mean, and there must be something else. And when I read the program, I read editor design, and I was like, yes, I want to be editor designer. I want this. That was like the whole story of it.
Yeah, so it was like combining this love of journalism and design. So you're like, hey, I can still be in the journalism world, and I'm actually able to design like editorials.
Actually, my first job was as editorial designer, a junior editorial designer, and I worked for it like 2 or 3 years. I was in that magazine. I also became designer director from one of the magazines, because they have like different applications. I spent a lot of time there, and I love doing editorial design.
Yeah, I want to talk more about editorial design, because Like you mentioned, a lot of people come into design like, oh, if I'm going to do graphic design, I'm going to be doing logos. So, I mean,
Right.
editorial design, there's so many details and so many specifics. So what did you do at your first job? What were your assignments? What were you doing? What was the most exciting part of it?
Well, I was being part of the editorial world, so I work closely with the journalists, closely with the people, for example, who took the photos because sometimes they weren't the same person. And I was in charge of all the design, but I also have to talk with them and say, okay, this text is too long. Maybe we can cut it down, or I need some. I will add some photos. I need some epigraphs for these. Trying to talk to each other to see if that picture was the best and if it's going to be like a huge picture in two pages or it's just gonna be one and a little. It was so funny trying to diagram all the pages and all the process because you have too many articles and also you have to leave some space for the publicity because it's very important. It's the part where the magazine actually also gets money. So it was so funny and so great doing all that and working with other people. When I was designing, I was alone because almost all the career you do it alone. You don't work closely with others. But when I first start working, I started working with people from another disciplines, and it was like awesome because I did my part and they do the journalism part. So it was a great compliment there.
Yeah. And I think that's really powerful that, and like your first job, what you were just saying is you were working with other disciplines, other people in other industries. So you weren't, or in other parts of the company. It's not like you were working with all designers. And I think that it's probably been really beneficial to you in the rest of your career, like learning how to communicate some of these design things and explain and get feedback and like collaborate with others.
Yes, absolutely. And because every time you design for people, and you also have to work with other teams from other disciplines. It doesn't matter if it's graphic design, UX, UI, or wherever. In every almost discipline, you have to work with others. And what I learned there is that yes, I don't know everything, and I don't need to know everything in order to deliver a good, in this case, piece of magazine article or wherever. I need also to trust others. They know a lot of things as well. They know a lot of things about design as well, because yes, I'm the designer, but they have experience working there. That was my first job ever. And they have like at least 5 years of experience working with another designer. So I also learned a lot from them, how to communicate, how to negotiate as well. And that was pretty cool. I also, in my first jobs, stayed till late, and for me it wasn't that bad. Sometimes like, oh no, I had to be at 10 p.m. in work because I have to finish something, and I was like, no, I'm in the editorial work. This is pretty common, and I really like it. I really love it. So it maybe was like 11 p.m. and we were still in the jobs, like trying to finish all the publications to send to the print. So yeah, I think that it was a great opportunity to start learning from others as well.
Totally. Another question there, based on what you just said, is you guys had tight timelines, obviously, editorial, but you also were designing for print, which is not something you do anymore. So, what's kind of the difference in your mind of like designing for print and some of those things you have to think about versus designing for the digital world?
Well, you have like too much differences because technology as well gets
True.
involved. That's also the possibilities of the technology, and also working for others. The print has worked the same for a long time, for long years, and technology
True.
keeps evolving, so you have to adapt and readapt to new things. It's more dynamic. I think that that's one of the things that attracts me more about this, because you have to be like learning every time something new, and that's cool because you have to adapt and rethink things that you thought that they were cool,
Yeah.
or they were good enough. But then some users start using it, and it's like, oh no, maybe I had to rethink some things because something changed, a
Right.
mindset change for the user. In the graphic design world, from my perspective and my experience, I worked for 3 years and we're almost all the same. Uh,
Hmm.
and I'm like too anxious and I want to change and do different things. So I think that that's one of the huge differences between like the print world and the digital world, the
Yeah.
dynamic of things.
I think that's well said. And yeah, that's a really great point is it's so much more dynamic in this world. And I started my career also. Well, actually, funny is my first job was at my school, my college newspaper, and I worked with the ads. So we actually created the ads to put in the paper. So the companies, like the little local bagel shop, would be like, hey, can you put an ad so that students get 10% off? So that was like my first job. So yeah, there were like these tight timelines, and we were like putting it and figuring out how to organize it on the page so everything fit correctly. So I kind of understand a little bit of what you were saying. It was a fun time, an
And also
interesting
there
experience.
you have like what the client wants or the stakeholder wants also. So it's like, yeah, the best of both worlds. Because also you have like, yeah, we don't have that too many space for this ad. Maybe we can redo it, but also the client like, yeah, but I want it bigger and I want to have more
Yes.
visibility. So you have to do like both things there.
Yes.
So
Yes. There would
harder.
be bars that be like, I want a bigger beer bottle on the cover. I want to take up the whole space. I'm like, oh.
Yes,
Yeah.
I remember that. I can relate with that as well.
Yes, yes. Oh, cringy thinking back on it now. But yes, for sure. I think that is really great. It's like out there, it's in the world. If there's a typo, too bad. There's nothing you can do about it. It is what it is. Sucks
Yes,
that no one caught
yes.
it.
Yeah, that
Exactly.
was one of the things that happened to me when I was in print as well. If you have a typo or something like that, it's like, okay, we just have to leave it. And it maybe it's 100, 200 publication. It's like, yeah, it was a mistake. And just to review everything twice or three times, that's something that now that I can remember, I had to do several times because of course in my first designs maybe sometimes I had some typos or some like, yes, I at the last moment I moved something and everything changed and I didn't realize and sent that to the print.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
um
yes.
Luckily that didn't happen to me like too many times, that I can remember twice, that someone just told me or so. Yeah, again twice. But yeah, that things happen. It's just like, yeah, you
Right.
have to leave it. And in this case, in the digital world, it's like, no, you can modify it. If you have the QA team, also you have engineers who are like also reviewing everything, so you're not alone in those kind of things, and it's great as well.
Yes, totally. I agree. I agree. Definitely makes room for easier fixes for sure. Okay, so you started as like a junior editorial designer. You said you moved to design director. Was this in the same company or is this a different company? The same.
No, in
Okay.
the same company.
Oh,
Yes,
that's
I work.
awesome.
Yes, I spent there a lot of time. My boss at that moment saw something in me, like, yeah, you're too enthusiastic and you love your work. And they have like 4 magazines, and for one of them, he told me, okay, you are in charge of this whole magazine. All the design decisions are on you. And I was like, okay, this is a great opportunity and a great responsibility as well. So I was very excited, and I had like the first opportunity also to make decisions, because until that moment I was like following the decisions from my boss, and that was cool because I was also learning, so it's pretty
Right.
cool. But then I was like, okay, I can make the own decisions about how I'm going to build all this publication. So yeah, it was exciting.
What would be your advice to other designers that like maybe are in the design world and they get this awesome opportunity to be able to kind of move up and, like you said, no longer be the only taking decisions, but being able to give and make decisions?
I will say to them to trust in their team, trust in your knowledge, of course, because if you get there, nobody gives you like a gift to that. It's because you made it yourself. You know a lot. That's why you get it there. But also trust your team, trust the other advice that anyone can give you, and also inside the company and your peers, because you will learn a lot from them as well. Also because it's your first time doing it, so of course you will have a lot of room to keep on learning. So yeah, trust in yourself and trust in your team, because together you will build something awesome, but together.
I love that. Yes. I mean, it sounds like collaboration has always been like a pillar for you
Yes.
within
Yes,
your career.
luckily, yes. And the times that I have some other works that maybe were on my own, I felt like I needed also something like something was missing. Because
Mhm.
yeah, sometimes I have to design alone, and it's great because yes, it's one-on-one job. Sometimes it's just your computer, Figma in this case, and yourself.
Yes.
But it's awesome to have a second opinion on things, to have other eyes also to read it, to see everything, to think of
Yes.
another possibilities. Uh, so yeah, I always try to work with someone else, at least if I can't, try to at least show my designs and see, hey, what do you think about this? If I don't have the chance to do, for example, disability test or something, like gives me like more inputs to improve. Okay, let's talk with someone. Let's talk with some peers that they for sure must have other ideas that could be so useful.
I love that. I mean, I definitely think the cornerstone of what makes good design is having opinions and collaborating and multiple people looking and coming up with solutions. Cause yeah, like it's hard to work in that silo. Not because you don't have the talent per se, but more because getting feedback and opinions makes work so much more enjoyable and a product so much
Yeah.
more
Yes, and
enjoyable.
maybe you're spending a lot of time in something and you start like feeling overwhelmed, but not because that's heavy, just because you've seen so many times that maybe
Yes.
you need someone else to see it and say, okay, but what don't you try this other thing? Oh yes, and you were like spending maybe hours on that, because yeah, you were going around in the same loop. So yeah, sometimes it's necessary just to look something else, or talk to someone, or go for a walk, or talk with someone again, and retake it.
Yes.
So yeah, I think it's really great to try to work with others.
Totally. And I like what you said about like going for a walk or taking a break. Sometimes you just need like space away from it so that you can come back to it.
Yes, yeah. Sometimes it's hard to do it. I totally agree with that and comprehend that, because sometimes you are working and you're at home working, or maybe at the office, and it's hard like say, okay, I have to leave, like I will go for a walk like 10 minutes and return, because like, why are you going out? You have work to do. And also you have that little voice in your head that says,
Yes.
you have some work to do. Why are you watching this TV serial right now? Go sleep
Yes.
straight. Because I need some time maybe, and this happens a lot in the creativity world, with designers and people who do other creative things, that yeah, we need to focus on something else. Sometimes the best ideas appears when you are taking a shower, not
Yes.
when you are working.
Yes.
Maybe you're
I
hours like,
love that.
yes,
I
you're hours
totally
watching
agree.
the screen, and it's like, no, you don't have any idea, you're completely clueless, and then you go to take a shower and, oh, got it. Or
Yes.
when you are trying to sleep, before getting sleep, it's like, oh yeah, maybe the solution is from here, and you take notes, and then you can sleep, go and sleep, take your nap.
Yes.
um but in that moment appears, that's because you also need to sometimes focus on something else, relax a little bit and don't feel overwhelmed, because that's not also useful for the project or for the things that you're designing, and also for yourself.
I think that's very well said. I think that that's like great feedback, like in the creative world, especially for, I mean, I think pretty much if you're a designer and you're in the world, you probably already do this, but for junior designers, anyone that's listening, that's kind of getting into the field, is like creativity is, it's not like an on and off switch in the same way. So like how you do your job might be a little different. You might need to take breaks, or you might be thinking about things, and just because you're not sitting at your desk doesn't mean you're not working. So it's like understanding what works for you.
It's a 24/7 job, because you are always thinking things.
Yes.
It's not that you turn off the switch and say, okay, now I'm not going to think anymore about the subject. No, and that happens because you get inspired in almost all the things that you see and you hear, and that's okay. That doesn't mean that you have to be working 24/7, of course.
Yes.
It means that your head is working all
Yes.
time, and it's good if you don't have at that time the time to say, okay, now that I have this idea, I have to work on this. It's okay. You just take notes on it, so you don't forget, sorry. And then when you go back to work, you continue. But yeah, we get inspired, see in the things that we see, we hear, and we feel. So it's cool. It's just go with it.
Yes, I agree. Like just trust the process. Like if you're sitting at your desk and nothing's coming to you, then do something else.
Sure, go and see that TV show that you want.
Yeah.
Go
Yeah.
read something. Go and see the clouds in the sky, and then go back, because you go back with a clear head to do something. So, and that's for sure. That's certified.
It's certified. Yes, certified. We give you permission.
Yeah,
Everyone does it. Well, awesome. Okay, so picking up, you are design director now, which is great. What kind of happens from there?
Happens that I got to the point that I wanted to be in 2 years, and it was like, yeah, I needed a new challenge. I was very happy with graphic design, but also still I was hearing a lot about UX and UI, and I was like, why I don't know about it? why I don't understand what UX is? So what I did is what I always do: go and take a course about UX. Luckily, I had a teacher who had a lot of experience in it and get me so inspired about UX. And I found there something that I felt that I was like missing in the graphic design, that it's the client's opinion, because it doesn't matter if you want it bigger, smaller, or whatever. What really matters at the end of the day is how users perceive that. And with user experience, I learned that. And I was like, yeah, something did a click in my head and was like, okay, this is what I was looking for. Something that I can also, it's not about my experience. It's not about what clients want or don't want, or understand or don't understand. It's all about what users needs and their goals and their necessities. I think that I fell in love with that discipline. So yeah, I wanted a change. I wanted a challenge, and I also to start like working in the digital world. So I start pursuing that. The first time I had like a couple of years of experiencing different parts of the digital world. You know, I was for 6 months a QA analyst because I wanted to get into the digital world, but I didn't know if QA was great for me or not, or UX or what. No, it was like a lot of different things what you can do in the digital world. So I was QA first, then I was doing some social media manager as well, because yes, it's digital as well, and also you have like the graphic world in the middle. But yes, then I started working as a UX designer, and I was like, yes, I'm going to be here for a long, long time, and I'm still here. So that's great. It's a long-term relationship with this.
Yay, you found your long term. I love that you kind of experimented after taking the course. I think that's really interesting that you were a QA analyst for a little bit of social media. And that probably also helped you land that first UX job, I'm assuming, because you started to have more knowledge on the UX digital side of things.
Yes, I have like those years of experimentation to try to understand where I belong, what I wanted to do. And yeah, for me, UX was like that piece that was missing for me in the graphic design, the user. That was like
Yes.
the huge item there. The highlight was, yeah, you're designing for people.
Yes.
Yeah, now I get it.
Yes. No, I love that. I mean, that's also what, like the reason I kind of fell in love with UX. And it's not about opinions. It's not about what you want. It's not about what the customer wants. It's literally building something for the users that makes sense.
Yes.
And so it's just
Yes, and sometimes for you it doesn't make sense as a designer, the way that you are doing some flows, like I don't know if this is understandable, but actually the people are using it and are using it that way and they are cool with it. And it's
right.
like, okay, if people it's cool with this and they can achieve the goals, I'm done here. My work is
Right.
done. Of course, then you have to review it and do more testing and see the metrics and whatever. But if people actually satisfied with that, yeah, maybe it's not what you learned at school. That yeah, the flow has to be like this, and I don't know, the user flow on the journey and wherever. Yeah, the user using it. So
Exactly. Totally. Yeah, that's fascinating. It's like you have to like push your opinions aside. You have to
yeah.
like
Yes,
take
it
your
doesn't
ego out
matter.
of it,
Yes,
everything.
and that's sometimes really hard because well, that happened to me as a graphic designer. I was like, yeah, but I studied this, so it's obvious that this has to be this way. And of
Right.
course, the user or who is going to use this, it's, will understand it, of course, because I studied 5 years and it's obvious that it's going to happen. And then you see the
Totally.
user using it like the other way around and pressing and tapping all the buttons and you say no, no, don't tap there. It's like and you
Yes.
have to learn from that, and it's cool that you that I spent also that time like taking my ego out because
Yeah.
yeah I was like, yeah, I have studied like 5 years for this. It's obvious that I know. And
Right.
no, when you start like designing for people, you understand that you don't know a thing and you have to learn every time you design for a new bunch of people because all of them have new necessities, new goals. Also, if you have a very great solution for example, what happened to me, I had a very great solution for deposits and withdrawals in Argentina, but then we have to move all our designs also for another country, and they have it's another culture, they have another necessities, they have other understanding mindsets of things. So it's like, okay, I have to re-understand the user, relearn
Right.
from them, try to, okay, what are your necessities as this new different culture that I actually don't know anything. So yeah, it's like you're learning all the time, learning how to get your ego out, learning about other new people, new cultures, new technologies. If you're a learner, this is your place because
Totally.
you're learning a lot all the time. How to
Yes.
not feel frustrated for some things, how to feel also excited for some other things. It's like you're learning all time.
Yeah, I definitely think you need to be a learner to be in
Yes.
this industry for sure. And I really love how you talk like that example is an amazing example of like how how it works, how design works. It's unexpected. Like truly like every time, and I think that's what's so exciting about it too. Like every day is different. Like we might be pushing pixels and Figma or whatever, but we're always brainstorming and coming up with different ways because how people interact with things is always surprising. And so it's like
Yes.
fascinating.
Yes, it's surprising. It's also different between different bunch of people, ages. You know, I'm a millennial. I didn't born with a cell phone, but yes, with a computer. But now my nephew, yeah, he was born with a cell phone. So the
Yes.
way he has like 4 years old and he interacts so differently as I
Right.
did with the cell phone, and how they watch YouTube, for example. Is like, oh my God. He doesn't know how to write, but he knows how the cell phone works. It's like,
Right.
that's amazing. So yes, then I will have to learn how to design for those new centennials who knows and has a great knowledge about technology. It's like, yeah, I we will have to rethink things again. And
Right.
it depends also in the ages that you're designing as well. It is so amazing. A lot of things to learn, to keep moving. It's like you can be calm in this, as being a
Right.
designer. You can.
It's almost like, and to be honest, I use this word quite a bit when I'm pitching the design project. And now I feel like I shouldn't be using this word as expert, is like everything is shifting and changing always. So there's not really like an expert. It's like we know something, but everything could completely shift if we just change the age group or the country, whatever it is.
Yes, yes, I completely agree with that, and I totally hear you. It's that you have to rethink about the things and also learn. For example, I was talking about technology before, and it's like, yeah, the design systems also are evolving and changing. And that's because people learn new things, and then you have a new starter point to keep on improving. So yeah, it's like you have to also see that and be in the last minute news of that as well. I think it's amazing because I know that sounds like, oh no, I have to be thinking and learning a lot of things, and it doesn't matter what I learned 10 years ago. No, no, no. Everything, it's okay. Don't worry. Everything that you learn, it's cool, and for sure you're going to use it. It's just new information, new things. But absolutely all the experience that you already have, it's pretty useful. It's not a waste of time or a waste of whatever.
Right. And honestly, what I say quite a bit as I like progress in my career, I'm wondering if you have a similar kind of feeling, is like kind of like you were talking about when you were a graphic designer, how you were like, I went to school, I'm an expert. I feel like and I've said this actually in the podcast quite a bit. I feel like the further along I get in my career, the more I realize I know nothing. Like I feel like everything is shifting and changing, and it's exciting, and it's like a chance to learn and to understand. And I like feel like I'm just like, I don't know. I know nothing. I know nothing that's going on, which is exciting.
It's like having 4 years again, when you are like experimenting new things all time. I think that being a designer, it doesn't matter if it's graphic designer, digital, or whatever, to be a designer is like to have always 4 years old, always asking why, and why several times. It's like you never pass that era, that stage. You always are asking why, and you are always getting amazed with the new things and the different things. But I think that's the way the things has to go as well. It's not like like you have to be always open for the new things that are coming. Then you can accept it or not. Maybe you don't feel comfortable or not, and that's okay.
Right.
Then you have like your own specialty or your own discipline to go, and that's okay. But if you can have that sensitivity of still get amused for the new things, you will go to some new other places that could be really great as well as the ones that you current have.
I love that. Very well said. Yes, agreed. I feel like this is like kind of a love letter to being a product designer and what it means, and what you have to be prepared for too is, yes, all these things. Well, let's kind of pick up with your career, you got a job as a UX designer, your first UX design position. What was that like getting into that?
Oh, it was, yes, I was trying to remember which one was. As a UX designer was in an agency. It was a little one at that moment. And what I learned there is that you can also design. I mean, in that moment, we weren't able to talk with customers. Sorry, with users. We were just talking with our clients and see what they needed, what they wanted, and at some point it was pretty similar to the graphic design era, where I talked with the stakeholders on what they needed, and I just did it. And what I learned there from my peers as well is that I also have some experience, so I don't need 100% to talk with users. Of course, always you have the chance to talk with them. It's the best. It's the best thing you can do, but sometimes you don't have time. You don't have the possibility because you don't have the resources or whatever. Trusting yourself, trusting your project, trusting in the process, and trusting the heuristics. For example, you there can have some starting point trust. And your knowledge, trusting the research that you can do as well. So what I learned there is, I was pretty excited trying to talk with users because that's what I learned in my course, that you have to talk to users to say that you are doing UX design.
Right.
But after some years, I realized that, I was doing a great design as well. It could be so much better if I talk to users, but also I have some other resources that I can use and other tools that I can use in order to get such a great product as I could at that moment, the good enough. So that's what I named my first UX job.
I want to talk about good enough. I love that you just said that, because this is a big part of, well, especially working with startups or customers, clients that don't have, like you said, the resources. So there's a good enough phase. So how should designers kind of like approach this good enough phase? Like, how do you suggest they mentally prepare for what good enough means?
That's a really good question. I'm still figuring out because it's something. I mean, you can understand some things, and you sometimes might feel frustrated because you feel that some things that you could do it so much better, but you don't have enough time, you don't have enough resources, tools, or whatever. And that's okay. You will learn from that as well. It's not that you're always going to do the same thing and never improve. Sometimes happens to me as well. Sometimes I feel frustrated because I can't do the things that I feel that I have to do. But yes, at that time I try to say to myself, okay, this is just a job. This is a part of the job. It's not always gonna to be like this. You also have other clients or other projects where maybe you can do a discovery. Maybe you can, I don't know, do an A/B testing, read metrics and whatever. It's like in each project, you will have a different experience. And you will learn from each of them. Sometimes you will have the possibility to do the whole thing and it's awesome, and sometimes not, and it's awesome as well because you can learn from other things. And if you have any other advice or whatever, will be great also to hear it, because I feel that it's an experience that every designer has and or will have, and I'm still learning of it as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think what you said is great. I think maybe something to add on is that when you do a good enough job, it shows that there's room for improvement. So hopefully if you get it out there, then you'll start to get feedback, and then like, I mean, that's like the beauty of design, is it's always evolving and changing, and you can always eventually get feedback and you can always see how it's working. So say they don't want to test it and they're like, let's just put it together, good enough, throw it out there. Their users are going to use it. They're going to get feedback whether they wanted to or not, and then they're going to come back and say, hey, okay, this that we did good enough, here are some problems, and then you'll have the chance to like rethink it. So I think that usually what goes around comes around, you'll probably have another opportunity and stab at it. So it's a good learning of like you to learn best practices and see, oh, okay, this is super interesting how users interact with this. Maybe I can take this knowledge that I learned and apply it to something else. So kind of like you said, as you continue to do good enough, you might have other ideas and learn other things from other good enough projects that you got to retest to continue to grow. So yeah.
And just for everyone to know, this happens and happens a lot. Also well, I have a lot of experience in the last couple of years in startups, and sometimes it happens that you're doing a thing, and but I was in the crypto world as well, so it was very, very dynamic. And sometimes we were working in something, and a stakeholder appear and said like, no, now we have to move to this another direction. It's like, okay, we just have to leave everything we did to tackle that. And that happens a lot. Just go with it. Sometimes you will feel overwhelmed, sometimes you will feel frustrated, and I completely understand that. But with the days and with the months and years, maybe you can take also the things that you feel that are worthy for you as well, and say, okay, I learned these things, because you are learning. Doesn't matter in the situation that you are learning something that you want or you don't want. And that's cool, and that's really, really, really great also.
I love that. Beautiful. Well said. That kind of sparked something else in my head, and I'm curious your thoughts. Your example you gave of working crypto and a stakeholder came in. I think something else that a lot of designers don't really learn until they really get into the industry is learning about the business side of things. So obviously you're a designer, you have this ideal way you want to work. We have the good enough, which doesn't follow our ideal way. And we also need to see what's happening with the company. So what are the big goals of the company? What are they trying to achieve? And by understanding that and understanding some of the business side of things, that'll also help align you as well. What do you think of that? And maybe especially in some of these startups you've worked in, how did those ideas of understanding the business goals shift and change your design needs?
So knowing the OKRs and the goals of the company, it's very, very important. Also for us as designers, because we have to achieve those goals. We have to help the company to achieve those goals, but at the same time brings the user's voice in the table. So it's a huge challenge, because sometimes there are some stakeholders that don't understand anything about design, and it's okay, because it's not their job to know about it. It's our job to teach them as far as they let us as well, because not also your job to say, yeah, you have to learn about this. And other thing about those goals that we need to know is that will help you as a designer to prioritize your work, and also to negotiate, because sometimes it will appear some ninja things. I call them ninja things, the things that appears through the windows.
I like it.
You didn't have it that on the list, and accidentally happens a ninja item there, where you have to do it fast for yesterday, and that happens a lot. So yeah, with those OKRs in mind, or just knowing what things are the most important things, and the case of success, and also the other case, the case when everything goes wrong, it will be good for you to prioritize, to understand if that niche thing is as much as important as the other ones. Negotiate, okay, maybe yes, I have to do this, but then I don't have enough time to do this other stuff. Is this niche thing more important than this? So you can have some assertive questions to do to the stakeholders, and to say, okay, yes, maybe this is something that I have to focus on, and then later let them know that you are not going to be able to achieve all those other things in at least the due dates that in the beginning you might set up. So it's very, very important for us as designers to know that. It's part of our job as well to understand it, because as a designer also you are trying to do something pretty useful, usable, but at the same time that is factible to do. So you have to talk to the engineers, and also that it's aligned with the goals of the company. It's something from the three these big words, and as a designer you should be talking with these other people from other disciplines.
Yes. All back to collaboration, right? Like always
Yes.
back to collaboration.
Yes.
But yeah, I love a lot of those things you said. And I think that we have goals we have to achieve, and we have to negotiate and prioritize. I think all of that. Yeah. Like for all the designers out there that are kind of getting into this industry, there's a lot more than just like you sitting and designing or even testing. Like there's a lot of other things that are going to appear and that are your job and that are your responsibility as a
Yes.
designer.
And maybe sometimes we don't think about it. It's like, yeah, I don't care about the goals of OKRs, or what even is that.
Right.
And yeah, with my last experiences working with the startups, I realized that it was very, very important to know those things, because it helps you a lot with your job and with your task as well. So don't
Yes.
go crazy with all the things that you might have to do. And yeah, have that prioritization, that it's very important.
Yeah, for sure. So you kind of jumping into your first job and like moving up, what was that process like? Like when did that confidence come about, and when did you feel comfortable kind of jumping into the next stage, and you going from that first UX job up until like becoming that senior UX designer?
I learned a lot in the different jobs that I had, but I think that when I did my another click in my head and say, oh wait, I know some stuff. It was when I start teaching. Once I finished my course in the place where I took it, after like 5 years, I gained a lot of experience, and they called me to ask me if I wanted to join as a teacher. And I was nervous because like, yeah, what I'm going to teach to I mean, yeah, they can teach me things, not to them.
Right.
And yeah, I learned a lot from them as well, and they learn from me, because when I started giving some lessons, the first thing that I always said is like, yeah, I know a lot of things, but because I have maybe some extra years of experience and I have knowledge in some little things, but it doesn't mean that I know everything and I will have the answer to all the things that you may ask. And if I
Yes.
don't have the answer, I will look for it. I will bring some
Yes.
other expert to tell you about it. But let's see what I can teach you. Let's see what I can give to you as well. And yeah, I also start my classes with that disclaimer.
I love
Because
that.
also makes me like, yeah, yeah, so don't be that nervous when I start giving lessons. But I think that I did that click in my head when I start teaching, because yeah, it helps you also a lot to understand. Uh, for example, someone asked me a question and it was like, yeah, the answer of this is this, and this, and it's like, oh my god, where did that came from?
Oh my gosh,
And
that's
it
so
was,
funny.
yes, I was like answering a lot of questions and a lot of, yeah, typical and common questions, but I didn't know that I knew it until they
Right.
asked me. So yeah, that was the time that I say, okay, yeah, now it's not that I feel like an expert or like a senior. I just realized that I have a lot of experience and a lot of knowledge that I wanted to share to others as well, that I wanted to help them go
Yeah.
through some things that I also pass through, and maybe I can help with this frustration or these feelings, the overwhelm and the ninja stuff and things like that, because I have experience in that. And yeah, to see just another point of view. While I still learning and still taking some other courses and whatever, because yes,
Right.
I'm a learner. I'm always trying to do some different things to learn. Um,
Yes.
yeah.
No, that's great. I love that. I think that's so fascinating that's like when it clicked, and it makes sense. Like when you all of a sudden realize that you know all of this, like you're always
Yeah.
I mean, us as designers, we are always learning. We're always starting from, like you said, like a 4-year-old, like, oh, we don't know. We have to ask why. But then when you actually like realize that you do know this and you can actually teach someone else, that would
I'm
make
in front
sense.
of 20 persons who are listening to me, who are
Yes.
looking at me like, okay, you're going to teach me something, like say something interesting. And I was like, okay, UX is, and I started thinking about what UX is.
That's so funny.
Yeah, so it's great as well when it's again collaboration, but maybe you knew something, you learned something, or you read in an article something new, something that it's great, innovative, or whatever. And if you share with someone else, also you are like learning how to communicate. Also, you're learning how to pursue. You're also like saying to your head, saying to your mind, yes, I know about this stuff, and this stuff is interesting for me as well, and I'm going to keep on reading on wherever that topic is. So if you're able to teach it, it's because you already understand it. If you're ready to say it, to communicate, it's because you already understand it. And that's funny, but and that's great in any area. It doesn't matter if you are teaching or if you are giving, if you're talking in public or wherever.
Yeah.
Just with your peers in taking a coffee and you're saying something interesting or something that you learned, you read. That's pretty helpful as well for you to say, yeah, I know some things. It's not like I'm completely unknown
Right.
about other stuff.
Totally. Yeah. I think like being around it, interacting, and realizing that you actually do know. You can
Yes.
speak about these things with some authority.
Yes.
Which
Yes.
is exciting. That's exciting. Okay, so I have a question about kind of your previous jobs before you joined the design project. I want to know how you got into the crypto space and what working in the crypto space is like.
So when I was working for Accenture, that was my last huge agency company. I did a project that was for the Bitcoin Argentina company. We're trying to do a digital identity app. And I started like learning more about blockchain. I was very interested in the blockchain technology. Of course, if you know about blockchain, you have to know, you learn about Bitcoin and also cryptocurrencies and things like that. And I was very interested in the possibility of that technology because I still believe that it's so much more than we currently using it. It's like, yeah, for sure, I truly believe that we are going some other place with it. But from now, it's just almost all about cryptocurrencies. So I was very interested in that. And I thought that if I wanted to learn more about it, I needed to get into a company, get into the industry in order to learn more about it. So Bitso gave me my first opportunity working in a product, now as a product designer, and to actually learn my first steps in cryptocurrencies. And then I had the possibility also to work for Lemon, which is here in Argentina, and this like a national app, a national industry. So I also wanted to help keep on learning because the dynamic it's different, the necessities are different. Sometimes you are not designing for necessities, you are designing without a problem because people still don't have a problem because they still don't know about it.
That's
So
fascinating.
sometimes it's the other way around. You're not having a problem to solve, you just have solutions for possible problems that they might have. So you have to like rethink things again.
Right. It's like I mean, that's interesting. How do you think of like what potential problems a user might have when a user hasn't really used this
Yes, I mean,
technology at all.
Web3, it's like something super, super new.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, I have to solve problems
Right.
that they are actually don't exist.
Yeah. Right.
uh, so you're actually creating something new, see which problems are you going to face, and then design. It's like the other way around. It's different. It's very, very challenging as well because you don't have too many research to do because like,
Right.
yeah, we're going to what? It's someone doing this, and if so, you're not innovating that much because yeah, it should be something new for you as well. So it's something complex, but in another way. Every problem is complex, of course, but
Right.
for me it was more complex in some cases because like yeah, I don't know where I can do some research. I don't know
Right.
who I yeah, do some maybe benchmark or wherever. It's like no, from scratch, but really from scratch.
Right. It's like the concept isn't even clear. It's like doesn't even make sense yet. It's not even a thing.
Yes, it's not something tangible. It's something like
Right.
it's completely in the idea world, in your head and in the heads of your stakeholders. It's like, yeah, how can I take that out of your head and bring it into a paper or a Figma file?
Yes. Yes. I worked on a crypto project. Actually, I guess it's been 2 or 3 years ago now. That's now pretty big, but at the time it was fascinating because I feel like every time I designed something and I would chat with the engineers, like they had they were like completely in the dark too. They'd be like, oh, I just discovered, or I literally just came up with this new random thing that's going to change everything. And we'd be like, what is this? Boom. And by the time I finally understood what this new thing was, they'd already found something else new.
Yes, I totally hear you. Yes, the same thing happened to me once and again, because that technology also is so dynamic. It changes almost every day, and
Yes.
we learn something new every day about it. That completely changed the game, completely changed the things that you already designed, and the experience that also the users will have with that. Also, you have a lot of type of users, the ones that knows a thing about crypto, the ones who are interested and wants to learn, but in a very um peaceful way. Like, yeah, let's calm down
Yeah.
because there's a lot of information. I want to learn, but I don't want like these strange words that you're telling me. Then you have
Right.
the experts, the ones that knows a lot, and they also want to use your product in a different way. So you have like very different profiles of people trying to get involved with cryptocurrencies. It's a huge challenge as well as designers because you're designing for a complete opposite uh, people.
No, this is interesting. Yeah. It's a whole like everything that we've said up until we started talking about crypto of like the challenges of being a product designer and like how things change and shift. Like think of everything we said, but like 10 times more complex and
Yeah.
more volatile, not in like a negative way, just volatile and like it's always shifting and changing. Like that's what you're gonna get.
Yes. Yes.
So I guess
Absolutely.
like what advice would you give designers that are looking to get into the crypto space, looking to design for crypto?
If they want to get involved in crypto, it's because they know this, because at the time that I didn't know there was this dynamic. Just for you to know, yes, is this dynamic, and you're warned. We already
Yes.
told you.
You have to be a
Um,
little crazy. Step one, you got to be a little crazy.
yes, for sure. Second, you have to be a learner, and you need to learn also a lot of things about technology, not only about design, but also the technology, because it has a lot of possibilities, but also a lot of limitations that you have to deal with, and also the people who understand and don't understand. So uh, my advice will be, if you get into crypto, it's because you like it. It's because you truly believe this is a very great technology. So you don't get like overwhelmed or mad or wherever about the changes, because yes, they are a lot. There is a lot of movement and a lot of it's very, very dynamic. Keep on learning, and yeah, try to find also some peace on that, because I don't think that will change. It's part of what crypto is, and it's good also for crypto to be so dynamic, because we are still doing a lot of things with it. So
that's great advice. Like, I like crypto, and to be honest, I don't understand a lot of the things. So I think there's a place where I can still work on crypto, but I also know that I don't have that mindset. Like, I don't have the passion to learn all the ins and outs. And so I think that's really great advice, is like, you really have to be like dedicated to wanting to learn and to understand these really complex, shifting, dynamic concepts.
yes, and also because you will have to learn also by mistakes how to use it, and using and reuse it, and talk with people and read different forums and articles and stuff. Because as a designer, is if we are going to work with that, it's also important to understand it. It's not like some other thing that if you don't understand it very, very deep, it doesn't matter, because just as a designer, you don't have to know everything about all the things in the world. But from my perspective, in this case, it's really important to understand at least a little bit about the technology in order also to help users, and to help yourself, also, because you are also a crypto user, and
Yes,
we are all learning together about this.
that's amazing advice. Totally. For all of you designers that want to get into crypto, take this advice. It's going to be helpful.
And take it easy. Take it easy, because it's a really, really nice world.
Yes.
But it's also complex. So
definitely
go with it.
Yes. Totally. Okay. So I kind of like wrapping up this awesome podcast is like, so you joined the design project about a month ago. You've been working with us. And my last question to you is like, where do you see yourself going? Where do you want to be in the next 5 years? Like, what is your trajectory as a designer?
I truly don't know, but because I'm open to see what our industry also will go, because when I first started being a graphic designer, I never thought I was going to be here as a proud designer in the digital world, because things change so fast and change a lot. And I think they are changing now once again, because of the things that happened with it. COVID accelerated a lot of things, but also because now we are talking about AI. And so things are evolving again. So I'm very expectant on what's going to happen and how would I adapt, because I'm not in my 20s anymore. How will I will adapt to that as well. So I'm really, really open. I hope continuing with the user experience, or the part where I had to talk with users, because I really like that. I think it has a lot of potential. But let's see what happens.
I love that. I think that's also, I think like there's so many different directions you can take from here, and there's so many new technology. Everything is changing and shifting so rapidly. So it's like going with the flow and seeing where it takes you, and who knows? Who knows where that's going to be?
Sometimes feels like, yeah, I have a lot of possibilities, and I'm afraid to choose one because I feel like I'm missing the rest of them. That's why I try to stay as open as possible, to see and to try different things. I know I have like a long well, those years that I was experimenting with different kinds of digital jobs to see which one I like most. Hope I don't have to go through that again. But yeah, just to be open to see what new things the technology and the world will bring, and see how it goes for me as well.
I love it. Well said. We'll kind of ride the wave. Well, awesome. Thank you so much, Julie, for chatting with me about your career, where you've been, giving great advice to other designers looking to kind of get into some of these spaces that that you've had experience with. So I really appreciate you coming on the podcast, and I'm really excited to continue our relationship at the design project after month 1. Let's see where we go.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for letting me be here. It was awesome. It was really, really nice and great talking to you. Thank you.